Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Tuesday, April the 25th. We've got a 3-game slate tonight, and this is a very interesting 3-game slate because we have all these 3 games right now, at least at the time I'm making this video. These games all have double-digit spreads, so really interesting. We could see some blowouts tonight. These are potentially going to be elimination games for some of these teams. Boston's up 3-1 with a chance to close out this series going back home. Denver's up 3-1, chance to close out this series going back home, and then same for Phoenix. They're up 3-1 with a chance to close this series out at home. So we'll talk about this 3-game slate though. What I do like, taking a first look on Monday, recording this video around 7 o'clock Monday night. So kind of an early preview of this slate. We still are waiting. Really only the injury news we're waiting on for today is the status of Kawhi. We don't really have any update on Kawhi yet, but we did get some big news out of Atlanta that DeJounte Murray is going to be suspended for this game. We'll talk about that. We do know that Kyle Anderson's going to be out for Minnesota, so we'll talk about that as well. But that's pretty much it for this 3-game slate. As always, guys, we're going to go game by game, give you kind of a quick preview of this 3-game slate. What I do like, taking a first look again on Monday night. But as always, before we get started with the breakdown, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, and if they do help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you're new to the channel, if you have never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can actually sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code Noah. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And if you've never heard about PrizePicks, they are a player prop site. Very simple, very easy to use. You're just taking more or less on a player's projection. You can see some of the props that they already have posted for Tuesday's games. They even have stuff up already for Wednesday's games. So if there's any lines that you think are either too high or too low, again, you're just taking more or less. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks, and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. So be sure to give them a try, guys. Use that promo code Noah when you sign up, and again, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's talk through the slate for Tuesday night. We'll start off with the first game of the night, the Hawks and the Celtics. So again, Boston, going back home for this game. They're up 3-1 in this series with a chance to close things out. Very likely that Boston, just finishes the job here. They're favored by like 13.5 right now. Atlanta's going to be without DeJounte Murray. So it's going to be tough for Atlanta to really, pull out a win here. But we'll talk about the Boston side first. So for the Celtics, we kind of know how they're going to run their rotation, how minutes are going to be spread out. This is a game that maybe could get a little ugly, so maybe you do see some extended minutes for some of the bench guys, maybe like a Grant Williams who got some minutes last game, like maybe he sees extended minutes or something. But for the most part, we can expect Boston to run pretty much an 8-man rotation. We can expect really big minutes for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Derek White's been playing pretty big minutes in this series. Marcus Smart's minutes have been in the low 30s. We can expect those guys to continue to play 30-plus minutes as long as the game is like somewhat competitive. If Boston comes out here and wins by 40, maybe those guys don't play 38, 39, 40 minutes. But as long as it's like a 10, 15-point game, you're going to see starters pretty much get full minutes. So Tatum and Brown, where they're priced at, I think once again both look like pretty solid options here. Jason Tatum has been super consistent in this series. Had his worst game of the series, game 1, and he still scored 43 Draftkings points. Like, he's pretty much got a 40, 45-point floor right now. He's playing 40 minutes a night. Usage has been great. He's been rebounding. He's been getting assists. Obviously, he's going to go out there and score a ton. He's going to take 20-plus shots. There's really nothing negative you can say about Tatum right now. I do expect him to be popular. He's been pretty popular on the slates that he's been on, but pretty good play at 10K. Jaylen Brown at 8,100, I think acts as kind of like a direct pivot off of Tatum. If you want to fade Tatum and go to Brown, as kind of like maybe some leverage, I think that's fine. I do expect both guys to get some ownership, but I don't think I would play them together. I think this is a spot where I probably would try and avoid doing that. But if you want to play one of the two, I don't have an issue with either one. Between the two, I give a slight lean to Tatum, but man, it's just so close between those two guys. Points per dollar wise, I think they both project very similarly. Now, the Celtics guards, Derek White, Marcus Smart, I think are both in play here. White was really good the first 2 games of this series. Last 2 games have been somewhat of a disappointment, but maybe going back home is what gets Derek White back into a groove. The 2 games he did do really well were at home, first 2 games in this series when he had 45 DK points. So maybe going back home is what Derek White needs to post a big game here. I think at 6,200, he is definitely priced where he should be. I thought early on in this series when he was like in the low 5Ks, he was just too cheap. Now that he's 6,200, again, he feels priced correctly, but I still think Derek White's in play here. And then Marcus Smart's just been great in this series, even from a fantasy perspective, just been super consistent. 40, 35, 47, 30 Draftkings points. Minutes haven't been super high, which I guess is the one negative on Smart. He's not playing like 38 minutes. He's going to top out at like 32, 33 minutes, it seems like. They do have Malcolm Brogdon, obviously a really good backup point guard they can give minutes to. But I still think we should expect about 30 to 32 minutes from Smart. And at 6K, I mean, he's a guy that can definitely pay off that price tag in 30-plus minutes. So I'm fine with Marcus Smart here. And then the rest of the Celtics, I think Robert Williams looks pretty solid coming off the bench. He popped off for a big game last game, played 29 minutes, which was the most he has played all series. It's the most he's played in quite some time as well. We've kind of seen them, keep Williams like in the low 20s in minutes, but last game it was good to see him get up to 29 minutes. I'm assuming he'll come off the bench again, but he'll probably play mid to high 20s in minutes, and we know that Robert Williams is a really good per minute producer. Had a double-double in those 29 minutes, had 3 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. At 5,300, I still think he looks like a pretty decent value play, and I think Malcolm Brogdon looks like a pretty decent value play as well. His minutes have been pretty secure. You're going to get probably 22 to 24 minutes, worst case scenario, and then by some chance, maybe if it's a 20 or 30 point game heading into the fourth quarter, maybe they extend Brogdon a little bit, and maybe they don't give Smart as many minutes like in the fourth if the game's kind of out of hand. So I could definitely see a scenario where Brogdon gets up to like 27, 28 minutes here. And at 5,200, obviously Brogdon can pay off that price tag in that time frame. So there's a lot to like on the Celtics. Those are two guys I do like for value. Not as interested in really anyone else, though. Horford, minutes have been pretty good. Just the per minute production is not that great. Like Horford, at this point in his career, is just not the same per minute producer that he used to be. He's playable at 5,100, but not a guy that I'm in love with. Again, like I could see Grant Williams getting some extended minutes here. He did get some minutes last game, not a ton of run though. It was kind of weird. He played 18 minutes in game 2, or I think he was out of the rotation in the first 2 games in this series, and then he got back in the rotation in game 3, played 18 minutes. Last game, got a little, some playing time. He played a minute, but maybe he gets a little extended. That's just nothing but a GBP dart throw though. Again, I think for the most part, the 8 guys that we talked about are kind of the guys we can expect to get most of the minutes. They have been playing Sam Hauser some, but like Sam Hauser, obviously not a guy you're really going to be interested in for DFS. So I think that's it for the Boston side. A lot to like there. Now on the Atlanta side, there's going to be a lot to talk about from Atlanta. Obviously the matchup against Boston is not great, but when you take DeJounte Murray off the floor, there's just going to be a lot of usage available. There's going to be a lot of minutes available. This is a do or die game for Atlanta, so I think for the most part, as long as this game is even somewhat competitive, we can expect really big minutes for Trae Young, really big minutes for DeAndre Hunter, and a lot of these other guys. Trae Young at 8,600, I expect will be very popular today. I make all these videos the night before. I'm making this video on Monday night, so we don't have any ownership projections right now. No projections are posted, but I would expect Trae Young to be very popular on this slate. Obviously, without DeJounte Murray, we can expect the offense to run through Trae. Trae, I know, he's had some really good games, I think, this season without DeJounte. His usage has been through the roof. I mean, there's a good chance that Trae Young has like a 35% usage rate in this game. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's going to take 20-plus shots. His assist numbers are going to be through the roof. The only negative thing I think you can say about Trae here is that the ownership's going to be really high, so in GBPs, you could obviously fade him if you wanted to. There is blowout risk in this game, and I could definitely see Atlanta just coming out here and completely laying an egg and just getting the crap beat out of them. But man, if they even keep this game somewhat competitive, you would think it's probably going to be because Trae is having a really big game. So Trae's definitely a good play, 8,600. He's going to project really well at that salary. And then a lot of these other guys look really good. I mean, DeAndre Hunter should have a bigger role here without DeJounte Murray. His minutes should be through the roof. Last 3 games in this series, 38, 35, and 40 minutes. He's one of their better defenders, so they want Hunter out there trying to guard Tatum, trying to guard Jaylen Brown. At 5,400, I'm fine going to DeAndre Hunter at this price tag. I'm expecting Bogdanovic to start in place of DeJounte Murray. Bogdan's only 4,800. He looks like probably the best value play on the slate. I mean, Bogdan's always been a relatively good per minute producer. Should get a lot of minutes here without DeJounte. He's a really good value at 4,800. Now, the bigs from Atlanta, I don't know if their roles really change that much. Like Clint Capella, John Collins, I don't think they really get much of a boost here at all. Capella in this series has just really not been that great. It's a tough matchup for him. Boston's a really good interior defense, especially with Robert Williams. Boston's a really good rebounding team as well, so it's really hard for Capella to go out there and just dominate in this matchup because Boston just does such a good job rebounding, boxing out. If you want to go to Capella at 5K, I don't hate it. I think DeJounte being out is kind of good for Capella because Trae and Capella have a really good connection with lobs, and if Trae's going to be running a lot of pick and roll with Capella, I could see Capella getting some easy lobs and some baskets that way. But at 5K, I mean, he's playable, not a guy that I'm in love with. John Collins, his minutes have been way down lately. He did get back up to 25 minutes last game, but only played 21 the game before that. They've been playing Saddiq Bey a lot over John Collins. Maybe without DeJounte, maybe John Collins takes on a bigger offensive role, but at 4,500, not super interested in John Collins here. And then off the bench, I don't mind going to Saddiq Bey just because he has been getting increased minutes lately. Did play 27 minutes in Game 3, played 21 minutes last game. I could definitely see him taking on a bigger offensive role with the second unit, without DeJounte. So I don't mind going to Saddiq Bey as a value play at 4,200. But I think that's it for Atlanta. I think Atlanta's probably going to run an 8-man rotation here. I expect the 5 starters to be Trey, Bogdan, Hunter, Collins, Capella, and then Okongwu, Bey, and I guess Jalen Johnson off the bench. I don't know if they're going to play like Aaron Holiday or any of these other guards. These guys haven't really been in the rotation. Are they going to bring these guys into the rotation now that DeJounte's out? Maybe they do, but I think we might see an 8-man rotation from Atlanta as long as this game is competitive. And if it is competitive, you should see really big minutes for a lot of those guys we talked about. Trey, Hunter, Bogdan should play really, really big minutes. They all look like really good options. But that'll do it for that game. Obviously there was a lot of plays to like in that one. Let's move on to the next game though. Minnesota and Denver. So for Denver here, we kind of know who we want to go to on the Denver side. There's really 4 playable guys on Denver, maybe 5. Jokic is obviously the priority play from the Nuggets. Jokic finally popped off for a big game last game. Did benefit a little bit because the game went to overtime, but even before overtime, Jokic was already having a really good game. He was kind of disappointing in the first 2 games in the series, but the last 2 games we've seen Jokic kind of be himself. Had 43 points last game to go along with 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Only thing I worry about here is that, I think this game does have a lot of blowout risk. I could definitely see Denver kind of, if this game is a little bit out of hand, I could see Denver just kind of taking it easy because, obviously they want to go into the next round healthy. But if the game's competitive, Jokic is going to play 36, 37, 38 minutes. We do have some value on the slate with DeJounte Murray being suspended and the price tags not really being adjusted for that. So it should be fairly easy to pay up for Jokic. Nothing really negative you can say about Jokic here. He is a very strong pay-up option. Jamal Murray had somewhat of a disappointing game last game after being really good the first 3 games in this series. I would say Murray probably bounces back here. There's really nothing negative you can say about Murray's performance, at least from a fantasy perspective, from a usage perspective. He played 41 minutes. He shot the ball 21 times. That's all good to see. Just didn't really have that great of a shooting game. I would expect a better performance from Murray here. I think at 8,200, he is a fine play to go to. Those by far are my 2 favorite plays on the Nuggets, Jokic and Murray. After that, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, KCP, these guys are viable, but none of them look super great at their price tags. Michael Porter Jr., he's been pretty good in this series. He's had some big games, but again, at 6,500, I think Michael Porter Jr. is kind of priced to where he should be. I think the same could be said for Aaron Gordon and kind of the rest of these guys. So that's really it for Denver. Not a ton stands out on Denver besides Jokic and Murray. Now on the other side with Minnesota, I guess the one injury to talk about here is Kyle Anderson is out for this game. So without Kyle Anderson, I think you're going to see pretty good minutes for some of these cheap guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Taurean Prince. Nickeil Alexander-Walker played a lot last game, 38 minutes. He was not very productive, only had 16 Draftkings points. And playing with Karl-Anthony Towns, with Anthony Edwards, with Mike Conley, with Rudy Gobert, I don't expect NAW to have that good of a usage rate. We have seen NAW be a very good permanent producer kind of throughout his career, but obviously these are, he's on a completely different team. His role is different on this Minnesota team, but it was good to see him play 38 minutes last game, and I think without Anderson, his minutes are even more secure. So I think NAW looks like a pretty good value play here. I think Taurean Prince looks like a pretty good value play as well. He got 23 minutes off the bench last game. His minutes should be very secure. Probably 25, 28 minutes is what I would project for him. At only 4K, he is firmly in play for value. And then we did see Austin Rivers get into the rotation last game. He did play 11 minutes. Didn't really do much in those minutes. Had 6 Draftkings points. I'd expect Rivers to be in the rotation again. I don't think he's really a playable option, but he'll probably get 15 to 20 minutes if I had to guess. Maybe you see Jalen Noel get some minutes as well, assuming he plays. He's been getting some minutes here and there. I think he probably plays a little bit, but definitely think Taurean Prince is the guy off the bench that probably plays the most. And I think NAW as a starter, his minutes are more secure now. So those are kind of the value guys I like from Minnesota. Now talking about the main guys, Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, Gobert, Mike Conley. I think all these guys are solid options here. Anthony Edwards has been great the last few games. His usage has been through the roof. He's taken a ton of shots. He's playing massive minutes. Minnesota, they're probably going to lose this game, but I do expect them to treat it like an elimination game, and I do expect Anthony Edwards to play really, really big minutes here as long as the game is somewhat competitive. even if it's like a 15, 20-point game, he's probably still going to be out there until the last few minutes. So I think Ant at 9,100 is playable. He's obviously not as cheap as he was earlier in the series, but I still think at 9,100 he is viable. I think Karl-Anthony Towns at 7,800 still looks pretty solid. I know Cat has not really been that great in this series, not really been that great from a fantasy perspective, but very similar to Anthony Edwards. We're going to get probably 40 minutes from Karl-Anthony Towns as long as the game remains somewhat competitive. 7,800, power forward and center eligible. He's probably my second favorite play on Minnesota, talking about like the studs here behind Ant. Gobert at 6,800, I'm not as interested in. Just don't think it's the greatest matchup for Gobert. His ceiling is not that high. He's going to have to post like a big double-double to really pay off this price tag. He's going to have to get some blocks as well, which he did do last game. He did play 39 minutes, did have a double-double with 2 blocks, but he doesn't really get many assists. He's just going to kind of rely on points and rebounds and some defensive stats. He feels priced where he should be. Not a guy that I'm like super interested in. And then Mike Conley, someone that I have been playing lately just because his price tag has been pretty affordable. And I think, once again, Mike Conley looks a little bit too cheap here. I mean, Mike Conley played 43 minutes last game in overtime, played 38 minutes at the end of regulation. We've now seen Conley play at least 38 minutes in regulation in 3 straight games. So the minutes are really good for Conley right now. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and like put up 50 Draftkings points, but obviously at his price tag, you don't really need him to do that. If you get 30, 35 DK points from Conley, you're probably going to be happy at 5,800. So I think Mike Conley at 5,800 does look really solid here. That's really it for Minnesota, though. I think we kind of talked about everything from the Timberwolves. So let's move on to the last game of the night, the Clippers and the Suns. So start off on the Phoenix side. Phoenix, very straightforward on who we want to play here. It's hard to consider any of these bench guys like really good values. I mean, Phoenix is running such a tight rotation, and they're playing their main guys so many minutes, like Durant, Booker, CP3, Ayton, that like it's just hard for a lot of these other guys to really do well. Torrey Craig, we've seen have some good games in this series, but last game kind of came back down to earth. He's going to have to knock down some corner threes to really get there because he's not really going to do much else. He's like the only other guy I'd even think about playing from Phoenix besides the main guys. I think the main guys, again, are where we kind of are going to look to here. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, where they're priced at, really don't have an issue with either one. I would say that I probably would rather get up to Jokic. I think I'd rather play Tatum. I'd rather play Trae Young over these guys. But, I mean, KD right now is playing 44, 45 minutes a night. I mean, look at his minutes so far. 45, 44, 42, and 45. He's playing 40-plus minutes as long as the game is competitive. I do worry about the Clippers getting blown out here, especially if they don't have Kawhi. But I think as long as the game does remain close, we can expect really big minutes for KD. At 9,900, firmly in play. Same could be said for Devin Booker. I mean, you look at his minutes, 43, 45, 45, 41. He's playing 40-plus minutes a night. I think KD offers a little bit of a bigger ceiling just because I think more times than not, KD is going to contribute more with rebounds and assists, whereas Booker is a little bit more scoring dependent. But, I mean, we did see Booker have 9 rebounds, 7 assists last game. I still prefer KD straight up, but I don't mind going to Booker here either. And then Chris Paul and Ayton in the mid-range. Chris Paul specifically, I do like at 7,300. He's been playing a ton as well. He hasn't been playing the 44, 45 minutes that Booker and Ayton, or that Booker and KD have, but 39, 38, 41, and 38 minutes for CP3. His usage, it's not going to be like great playing with those guys, playing with KD and with Booker, but I mean, he's been taking a decent amount of shots. We obviously know the assist numbers are going to be really good for Chris Paul. He'll grab some rebounds. He can get some defensive stats. 7,300, I mean, Chris Paul definitely has the upside to pay off this price tag when he's playing close to 40 minutes a night. So I definitely like Chris Paul. Ayton is probably my least favorite of the main Suns guys. Like, once again, I mean, Ayton just has not really shown much of a ceiling since, Kevin Durant arrived. We did see Ayton have probably his best game of the series last game with putting up 39 DK points, 15 points, 13 rebounds. Did have 2 blocks, 2 steals. That's obviously a little bit of an outlier. I think at 6,400, Ayton's playable here. But again, I would rather go to KD. I'd rather go to Booker. I'd rather go to CP3. He's my least favorite of the 4 main Suns. And that's really it from Phoenix. Nothing else looks that appealing on the Suns side. I was talking about the Clippers. I mean, it's really hard to break down this team right now because we don't have any update on Kawhi yet. I think Kawhi probably plays here, especially with the Clippers being down, 3-1, and this being kind of an elimination game for them. Like, you would think Kawhi wants to be out there to potentially try and extend their season. So if Kawhi plays, it's going to make like all these guys look pretty unappealing. I mean, Westbrook, Norman Powell, Eric Gordon, these guys all got priced up for when Kawhi was out, especially Westbrook and Powell. So Westbrook and Powell are probably out of play for me if Kawhi returns, especially Powell. I could still maybe see playing Westbrook even if Kawhi comes back because, I mean, we have seen Westbrook post some big games playing with Kawhi, but obviously the 23, 29 shot attempts he's had the last 2 games, you can't really expect that type of, volume with Kawhi, but I still expect the minutes to be very good for Westbrook. We know he can contribute with rebounds and assists. He is still playable if Kawhi is in today, but obviously doesn't look great. Kawhi would be my favorite play from the Clippers if he's in. I mean, 9,200 for Kawhi. I'm assuming that if he does play here, he's going to get full minutes. I expect him to play about 40 minutes as long as the game's competitive. And we've seen Kawhi be great in the series when he's been healthy. Will he be healthy? Like, we don't really know. I could see them playing him and maybe restricting him. I definitely think if this game even gets like remotely out of hand and Kawhi is playing, that they're going to be pretty quick to just pull Kawhi out of there. So it's a little bit risky, but I do think Kawhi is in play if he's able to go today. Now, in a scenario where Kawhi remains out, then I think Westbrook and Powell obviously do become pretty solid options, but they wouldn't be like slam dunks. I mean, Westbrook got priced up to 9,300. Norman Powell is 7,400. They'd both be playable. Neither one of them would be priorities, though. I think Westbrook between the two would be my favorite. And then the rest of the Clippers, Gordon, Mann, like I think you can go to these guys for value. We did actually see Marcus Morris start last game over Nicholas Batum, and I'm guessing that's going to remain the same here. So, like, obviously you could maybe consider Marcus Morris's value play if Kawhi remains out. I definitely would not play Morris, though, if Kawhi's in. I don't think I'd play Gordon or Mann either if Kawhi's in, so it's kind of a wait and see here. But I think Gordon's ceiling is a little bit higher without Kawhi. We've seen Terrence Mann play some more minutes lately. I think his minutes will be more secure if Kawhi remains out, but yeah, it's kind of a wait and see for the Clippers. Hopefully we'll get some news on this, definitely before lock, I'd assume. Maybe we'll get some information on it sometime Tuesday afternoon, but that's all that I got for this 3-game slate for Tuesday night, guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching. As always, make sure you hit that like button down below if you guys did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet, and be sure to go check out PrizePicks as well, sponsor of the video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code Noah. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But that's all I got for tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching the video as always. Hope you did enjoy, and we will see you in the next one. Best of luck tonight, guys. Peace.